Leslie Lar's downfall is just that eyebrow twitch that she can't help doing. Could you imagine if Hope was like, let's add that to the PowerPoint? Excuse
what
me?
year is it?
How old am I? This is how the podcast breaks up.
This is the last episode of Supergirl Radio. You want a Kryptonian? You got one.
Is it a movie about saving Argo? The answer to that one is no. It's called Witch for a Summer! ! Where does she want to go? Ask her. Talk to her. Really commune with flat Supergirl.
Did we set the bar too high or too low?
I think we set the bar real medium.
You do an intensely adequate podcast.
Good.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Noyce, and you're listening to Supergirl Radio.
McGurk! I love
Not
typing.
mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira.
I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor Boardroom or Ballroom, because of her outfit.
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Welcome to a improvised live stream of Supergirl Radio. My name is Rebecca Johnson, and for this stream, this is going to be real loosey-goosey. I just got word last minute, about 30 minutes before we were supposed to go live tonight, that I learned that Morgan was not feeling great. She has a really bad migraine tonight, so we are going to have to reschedule our Supergirl Radio Rewind episode of the pilot that we were about to start. So if y'all would keep Morgan in your prayers so that she will feel better. We all hope she gets to feeling better. So the best way to do that is to get a lot of rest. So we hope Morgan feels better. And we'll figure out another time, maybe this week, to do the Supergirl Radio Rewind, which is very difficult to say. And if you guys will indulge me as I fix my background here, it's kind of bothering me. But I figured we would still go live, or not we, I guess just, we, everybody in the chat plus me, that's we. We would still go live and maybe just do a little unboxing here of my season 6 Blu-ray that I just got in the mail today, so we can all look at this together. I don't know. Let me know in the chat if y'all have gotten your copy. I pre-ordered mine, so I forgot about it when it got to my house, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I pre-ordered this. It was such a long time ago that I had already forgotten about it. So I'm just gonna kind of take a look and see what the packaging looks like and what the discs look like. And then after that, if y'all still want to hang out, maybe I'll drop a StreamYard link into the chat. And if anybody wants to join me and have a discussion about something, we can do that. Just kind of depends on what y'all want to do. I know Supergirl Radio is not as fun without Morgan around, but we'll still hang out if anybody wants to. So we'll just get started here. And just by the way, this is exclusive just for YouTube and Facebook. I'm not going to drop this in the podcast feed because I'm going without a Google Doc. So I feel very unstructured. So we're not going to put this in the podcast feed. This is just going to be video only. Okay, so I'm just going to start. I'm literally unboxing it and trying to take all this stuff off the packaging that they've got on here. All right, so the front cover is the season 6 poster, which I'm going to be honest, I'm not a big fan of it. I think it's more so looks like maybe something for season 5 with all the technology and all that. It gives kind of more of a technology vibe to me. Also, it has that weird thing with Supergirl's arms that are like ghostly in the background. It's not my favorite, but it is what it is. It's kind of the season 6 poster. So I do kind of like the purple and blue aesthetic. I think it's a cool coloring, but I'm just not, that's not my favorite poster. But that is what it is. There's a digital code. So I don't know if I'm going to be using that because it's already on Netflix. I can get it digitally there, but I'm curious as what that's about. I'm guessing that's for another platform if you don't have Netflix. All right, so the unnecessary sleeve, but it is what it is. It's the same thing on the front and the back of the actual case. I don't know. I guess, it's up to you whether you like the sleeve or not. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, it's not really. Why is that necessary? I don't know. Somebody offer me a suggestion as why that's necessary. It's cool looking, but it's unnecessary, really. And I've already dropped it. See, it's completely unnecessary. All right, so let's see how this thing. Oh, it's broken. Came to me broken, and it's that's great. I'm gonna have to get another one of these things. It's chipped. Oh man. Well, that's great. I'll just get another one for the old collection. Okay, so here inside is the digital code. Let's see. 3 easy steps. I'm sure it's very easy. You can watch it instantly on the 3rd step, or I could just go to Netflix, but that's okay. So there's a QR code. It's wb.com/redeem digital. So there's that. I don't know exactly where this goes. I'll have to try this later and see what the deal is with the digital code. All right, so I guess we'll take a look at the discs, and I guess we'll go back. Well, this is kind of the way I'm gonna go front to back, so that's what we're gonna do. So the inside is kind of nice. I don't know if y'all can see this. It's got a Supergirl there in the background, and then it's got stills from some of the episodes of Martian Manhunter and Sentinel and Brainy and Andrea Rojas and William Day and Nixley and Brainy, and then Supergirl and Lena, Witch Lena, very specifically Witch Lena, because she's got the kind of wavy hair. To me, that signals Witch Lena. So I like that right away. You get Supergirl in the front there. I like that. Okay. So I'm going to take a look at a disc 1 just to see if the designs, I'm always interested in the designs of the discs. I actually used to, in my previous job when I worked at Turner, I used to QC DVDs and Blu-rays, which meant quality control, if you're not familiar with that term. I used to actually have to physically sit down and watch the discs to make sure that the menus worked and there was nothing wrong with the video or the audio. So it was a really actually kind of a fun part of my job to do that. So that was a lot of fun. So I used to be into menus and disc design and case design as well. So here we go. So here's disc 1. I don't know. These may all be the same, but I'm always curious about how they're all designed. So this is the S Shield. It's still got that kind of season 6 electronic vibe. It's kind of a purple disc, which I guess fits the aesthetic of the poster, the season 6 poster and the cover of the Blu-ray. This was actually very difficult to get out. I guess I haven't opened a Blu-ray in a long time. It was kind of hard for me to pull the disc out. So it does look, this is a little disappointing for me. This is, they're going to be all the same. They are all the same. And oh my gosh, disc 2, why won't it come out? Okay. So disc 2, same thing, just says disc 2 on it. And since these have proven to be enormously challenging for me to get out, I'm just going to show everybody. So disc 3, same thing. I really wish they would have mixed it up a little bit. Disc 4, same thing. I remember back in the day, this is a while ago, back when I used to like Smallville, and I collected the Smallville DVDs, and they would have, like, each disc would be a different character. So disc 1 obviously was Clark. Disc 2 was usually either like Lex or Lana, and then it would kind of go down the cast. And I actually really liked that. But so I don't know if they still do that kind of thing with TV Blu-rays, because I don't buy as many anymore because of streaming. So I'm a little disappointed. I'm going to be honest that there's no, and I'll have to go back and look at my other Supergirl Blu-rays to see if they did something similar to this to season 6. Maybe it's been consistent the whole time that they've had the same design for each disc. I'll have to go back and look at that. So I'll try not to be too judgy. Maybe they're doing this for consistency's sake. If they're all like this, then that's okay. But I don't know. I kind of, if it was me, I'd probably put a little something different on each disc just to make it stand out. Because if you're like thumbing through the discs, it's kind of hard to see which one is which, because they're basically the same design. Anyway, that's my ranting about the disc design choice. So here's the back cover. Showing some things here. So it tells everything about the discs. Disc 1 has the first 5 episodes, and it has a special tribute, a special feature, a tribute, farewell tribute to Supergirl, which I assume is the thing from DC Fandom that we've talked about on Supergirl Radio before. Disc 2 has Prom Again, Fear Not, with some deleted scenes. Welcome Back, Kara, Dreamweaver, Still I Rise, and then some deleted scenes from that. Disc 3 has Mixie in the Middle, Blind Spots, some deleted scenes for Blind Spots, The Gauntlet, deleted scene from The Gauntlet. There's a lot of deleted scenes from season 6. Disc 3 also has Magical Thinking, Hope for Tomorrow, with some deleted scenes. Disc 4 has Nightmare in National City with some deleted scenes. The 17th episode is, I believe, a thing called Love, and then Truth or Consequences, deleted scenes. The Last Gauntlet, deleted scenes. Kara, deleted scenes. So quite a bit deleted on here, and it looks like below this has pictures of William Day, Dreamer, Guardian, Sentinel, Supergirl, and then Brainy and Nia, or Brainy and Dreamer. I'm still dropping parts of this case all over me. I think I got this from Amazon. Come on, Amazon, do better. All right, so I'm getting to the back of this case here, and it says The Soaring Final Season. And I like this picture of Supergirl. Why couldn't this have been the cover of the disc? I would have been into that. Although I don't know if I approve of Supergirl's guard stance. I don't know. I took a couple of kickboxing classes a long time ago, and your guard has to be kind of up here so you're protecting your face. So I'm always like, I don't know. It's not like I'm a boxing expert, so I really probably shouldn't say anything. But the back says, after defeating Leviathan, I guess that's what they did. Supergirl learns that Lex Luthor used obsidian to rewire the human mind. Now half the world has pledged undying allegiance to the evil industrialist, while the other half faces certain death. They're talking about this like this is a big portion of the season. This is like the first episode when they had to wrap up all that Leviathan stuff from season 5. And that's a good chunk of, that's like 2 sentences. It's like almost half of this little paragraph. There's a way to defeat him, but victory will banish Kara to the Phantom Zone. And it has Kara bolded and the Phantom Zone bolded. I guess all of like the characters, Leviathan's bolded, Lex Luthor's bolded, Supergirl's bolded, Obsidian is bolded. There, she will encounter one of her fiercest rivals, the ruthless imp Nixley, in bold, who is on a quest to find 7 magical totems that will set her on a path to world domination. The danger intensifies. That is the word. When she teams up with Lex. Can the Super Friends, in bold, and also Super Friends is one word, which is interesting to me. Super Friends, no space, no capital F. I've always been Super Friends, like the TV show, but this is Super Friends, all one word. Can the Super Friends stop them? Prepare for a season of unexpected twists as the final 20 episodes reveal the Girl of Steel's fate. And Girl of Steel is in bold if you care about that consistency and that kind of thing. And on the back, it also mentions special features, a farewell tribute to Supergirl, and some deleted scenes. So that's kind of what the back has on there. So that's kind of the disc. I mean, the spine is pretty cool. It says Supergirl, the 6th and final season. So looks good there. Everything lines up, looking good. Other than my case falling apart and the disc design being kind of boring, that's a pretty solid Blu-ray set. I'm interested in the deleted scenes. I have seen some deleted scenes, as maybe some of you have seen some deleted scenes sort of floating around the interwebs. I saw a few on Twitter, which seemed like illegal, maybe a little bit, kind of recorded off a TV. But I did see a deleted scene where Supergirl flew into the tower and she had a conversation with Esme that was really cute. And I can't remember exactly what they were talking about, but it was infuriating to me that was not included in the particular episode it was from. I can't remember exactly which episode that would have been from, that deleted scene with Supergirl and Esme, but I was like, oh, this would have been so good on a Supergirl level. And especially getting to see more of Aunt Kara with little Esme would have been great. So I hope to see more deleted scenes that are of the same situation, even though it will probably make me very upset that they're not included in the episode. Maybe they'll give me, as a Supergirl fan, something more. I'm very curious to see if we'll get an answer to the lizard faces. That I think there's some deleted scenes from that episode, so I'm hoping we'll get an answer to the lizard face quandary. Let's see. Samwise says that deleted scene would have been 618. Yeah, Donna says great scene. They were talking about having to hide their powers. And let's see. Yeah, and Samwise says it was Kara talking to Esme if she had to hide her powers or not. Yeah. So that was a great scene. So hopefully we'll get more Blu-rays, more deleted scenes that are just as equally great on the Blu-ray and DVD. Oh, Donna says no answer for lizard faces. Oh, well, we'll never know. It's going to be a mystery for all time. Let's see. I'm going to go through the chat and just see what people are talking about, because I was talking about the Blu-ray while everything was happening in the live chat. Samwise says, I'm waiting for the complete series box set. That would be awesome. I would also be interested in a complete series box set, just in terms of a collecting perspective. And I'll probably need one now that this particular case is not holding up for me. But yeah, I think they usually, will do that for a lot of shows that have already kind of ended their runs. So I hope to see if they do have a full complete set. Let's see. Yeah. Nicole, this is really tough for me to, it's truly live and wired. I did not have time to sort of, prepare a Google Doc. I had prepared one for Supergirl Radio Rewind for the pilot, but not for this improvised live stream of the unboxing. Let's see. So Ollie 10305 says the digital code is if you want to watch it on Apple or iTunes. Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. Let's see who else is in the chat. Let's see. Yeah, Miss Fiction Fanatic says at least you have proof it was broken when you opened it. That's a good point. Maybe I can contact Amazon and be like, "Hey, watch this video. This is broken, and I have proof." So I'll see if I can maybe get them to send me a new one. You are all witnesses, so thank you for witnessing that. Nicole says product came damaged, references YouTube link. That's a great idea. Thank you everyone for inspiring and encouraging me to maybe get Amazon to send me a new version of this. Let's see. Okay, Donna says in the series Blu-ray set, each season disc is a different color. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and look at my other season disc. Now I'm kind of curious about that consistency. uh, People are talking about all the things being broken. Mark says I keep forgetting to break my Citizen Kane disc so I can get it replaced. That's funny. Let's see. Oh, Donna says it's actually more content than what the DC fandom aired. So maybe it's a longer version of the tribute, is what Donna is saying. Okay, let's see. All right, so Claudia has a question. When you say with deleted scenes, does that mean the deleted scenes are edited into the episode or just clips at the end of the episode or disc? It's a good question. I think normally what they do, I can't speak to what's on these discs because I haven't actually watched the discs yet. I just opened up the case. But I assume it's the episode as it aired and then deleted scenes that you can watch separately. That's what I'm assuming it is. That's the way DVDs and Blu-rays are usually structured. So I assume that's the case. Let's see. Nicole is justifying Kara's stance with her guard up, saying Kara's face is invulnerable, so she doesn't have to care about her stance. That's a really great point. Why does she even put up her guard anyway? I don't. Okay, now I'm very confused. She can say Supergirl can stop bullets with her eyeballs, but she puts up her puts up her dukes. Let's see. Hagel Blast makes the same point. She's invulnerable. She can take a punch to the face better than a human could. Good point. Let's see. Oh, Nicole also makes a good point about the Super Friends being spelled out a different way than I would have thought. That maybe Super Friends, the TV show, is trademarked and they can't write it that way. That's a good point. That's probably the case. Let's see. Hagelblast also says, I want to see the deleted scenes from the pilot to mention tonight's original topic that weren't on the season 1 Blu-ray set. That's a good idea. I had not initially done that. I was just going to rewatch the pilot episode as it aired, as it is on Netflix. But maybe I'll go back and before we actually, I don't know when we're going to reschedule Supergirl Radio Rewind. I'm going to wait until Morgan feels better, and then we'll decide on another time. I just for now, I put the live stream on Thursday, but we may not do Thursday, maybe another time. But just to have it rescheduled, I had it for Thursday, so. We'll let everybody know when we're going to reschedule, but that's a good idea that maybe I'll revisit the deleted scenes from the pilot if they have some. I can't remember exactly from the Blu-ray, but I'll have to go back and see if I can revisit those before, because really Supergirl Radio Rewind, the point of it is to get Morgan's thoughts. Y'all have already heard my thoughts about the pilot. So I really wanted to just be me interviewing Morgan to find out what she has to say about it. But it was interesting to rewatch it. There's definitely some things that I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's not how it turned out. There's a lot of things that changed. But it's always interesting to go back and rewatch the show in season 1 to see how different it was. Let's see if there's any other comments. Yeah, Ollie, so Mark, one of our listeners, one of our great listeners and contributors to Supergirl Radio, he found out what Jean's secret was, and we'll have to reveal it in an episode of Supergirl Radio sometime in the future. So maybe that'll be something that we do as a special episode about Jean's shocking secret. I'm gonna have to dig up that episode description to remember exactly how they worded it, but it was something akin to that. And Donna also says, I stand corrected. The discs in the complete series set are either red, blue, or purple. I guess that makes sense. And Donna also says there are no deleted scenes for the pilot in the complete series Blu-ray. Okay, thank you for checking on that. I was going to have to go back and look, so that's good to know. All right. Well, what I thought I might do, since after we've kind of just gone through the unboxing, because I may stay on for a little bit, and if y'all would like to join me, you don't have to, but if anybody wants to, I'm gonna put a StreamYard link into the chat here, and if anybody wants to hop on and just talk about anything Supergirl related, uh, you come on and we'll talk about it, and and we'll have a discussion about something. So if there's anything that you want to join me and discuss, feel free to click on the link and hop on to StreamYard. I think that went through in the chat. Let's see, that should be right. So I was just going to mention a few things, possibly, if I can dig up the tweet about it, because I did a register for it. So I'm going to try to check it out, I think, on Thursday. All right, so here is the link here. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. Let's see. So I was going to maybe mention this on the news section, although if I can get the thing to come up. But since we're not really doing the news, as it were, I guess I could in a formal fashion for Supergirl Radio. There is an event, a virtual event that's going on between Joe Whittemore, who wrote a trilogy of Supergirl, the TV show related books. It was kind of set in the world of the Supergirl universe. So there are 3 books that Joe Whittemore wrote. We did interview Joe Whittemore. So if you want to go back into the Supergirl Radio archives, you can listen to our talk with Joe Whittemore. We actually taught her about Snapper Carr. So if you want to listen to that, you can do that. But Joe Whittemore is teaming up with Melissa Benoist this Thursday. If you happen to catch it this Thursday, which I think is March 10th, they are doing a free virtual event and people are invited. She's going to be talking with Melissa Benoist about Haven's Secret and their love of libraries. So this is going to be put on by the School Library Journal, which is according to their Twitter bio, the largest reviewer of kids and young adult content from books to digital. So this is going to be a free virtual event Thursday, March 10th, 2022. They are the closing keynote conversation. So they're probably going to talk about maybe some Supergirl stuff, maybe some books, maybe some libraries. I don't know. The registration form seemed like they were looking for library people. So I don't know if they're going to, if you don't fill things out a certain way, I don't know if people will if they'll drive you away or not, but I did register, so we'll see how that works out. So I just kind of wanted to check it out and see what it was and see what it was about. So if you're interested in that, there is a registration link for that. I will actually drop that in the StreamYard chat. And if you want to, so that should go in there, that Twitter link. I'll also link the link to the actual registration page into the chat as well. Let's see. There's a question. Let's see. Samwise has a question really quickly before I continue on. Let's see. Samwise says, I have a question. I can't do the stream link, but I wanted to ask about how you feel about the CW Supergirl basically being Superman and not actually Supergirl. That's a really interesting question, because I would probably argue that for the first couple of seasons, probably seasons 1 through 3 were very Supergirl heavy in terms of borrowing things from the mythology. Season 1 was very heavily borrowed from Sterling Gates's run on Supergirl. You had the Lucy Lane stuff, Silver Banshee. I was trying to think of some other things. There's a ton of stuff that they pulled from the Sterling Gates run, which Reactron was in there. So that's stuff that I think is more Supergirl ish. Lena Luthor's introduction in season 2. Lena Luthor is very much a character who is connected to Supergirl, not so much Superman. Reign and the World Killers is they're a group of Supergirl villains. So it was more so Supergirl for most of those seasons. I think season 4, you could probably argue, would have been more Superman heavy because it was pulling from Superman Red Sun. That was very much a Superman comic book. Also, the Elite was very much a Superman villain. So I would say Supergirl season 4 would have been more Superman heavy. Season 5 was just kind of, I don't know where that was going with Leviathan. That seemed to be more tying into the comics at the time. There was a Leviathan run in the comics, so I think that was just supposed to try to tie into the comics. And season 6, I don't know. It just wasn't very much focused on Supergirl for the most part. So I know some people argue that with the use of Superman villains like Parasite and Metallo, those kinds of villains. But I think at the height of the Supergirl TV series, I think it was really trying. I think especially in season 1, I think it was really trying to lean into Supergirl and try to make her the focus and make her a real character that would separate her outside of the Superman mythology. And that's why I like those seasons so much, is because a lot of the things that I've read from the Supergirl comics showed up on the screen. And that was a lot of fun. I mean, even Streaky was there, the Legion of Superheroes, which, Superman and Superboy have had a lot of Legion of Superheroes connections, but Supergirl has too. There's a whole series of comics, Supergirl and the Legion of Superheroes. So I think it's written by Mark Waid. So those are actually pretty good if you're interested in the Legion and their interaction with Supergirl. And also in the Silver Age, Supergirl joins the Legion of Superheroes. She's a Legionnaire. So it was really fun for them to see them come on. So there are a lot of things about the show that actually made it more Supergirl in the long run. But sometimes I think it's difficult because I think by the end of the show, I think it felt like the show was uninterested in Supergirl anymore. And so I think that's the more disheartening thing, not so much that it was borrowing things from Superman, because they're in that same universe. But the more disappointing thing for me was that it just didn't seem like they were as interested in Supergirl as a character anymore. So I hope that answers your question. Hopefully that kind of got some kind of answer in there. Let's see. Trying to see if there are any other questions before I check out in the chat, in the backstage area. I see you, Donna, if you want to come on. Let's see. Mark says, considering that such a large portion of Supergirl's Rebirth comic series was a big diversion in service of Superman's story and Bendis's Legion setup. Yeah, the Rebirth era of comics, which we need to get back to on Supergirl Radio, it sort of starts out as more of a Supergirl story. It shows Kara and Catco, and Cat is there, and there's a lot of stuff where Kara is kind of having an interaction and a romance with this other teenager, Ben Rubel. So there's a lot of it that's Supergirl heavy. She interacts with her mother and father. Her father is Cyborg Superman. So there's a lot of that stuff that's, very connected to Supergirl. She pals around with Batgirl. So a lot of that is very Supergirl heavy, but it kind of, once you get into it and like, oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank on that group, the Omega Men? Yeah, once you get to the Omega Men part of Rebirth, it kind of starts to fall apart and become something other than just Supergirl stuff. I'm going to take a couple more questions, and then I will check out the people who have clicked on the StreamYard link. Mark also asks, have you seen the Batman yet? How can I say this politely? I love Batman. I have loved Batman since I was 9 years old. I have been a big Batman fan all my life. So normally I would be hyped about it, especially because it seems like, Batman and Catwoman are going to be a big feature, and I'm a big fan of the Bat-Cat relationship, but I have been very disappointed in the way things have been handled with the DC films, and so it's tough for me to support them on the big screen, the way that Warner Brothers has handled some things. So I'm probably not going to see the Batman on the big screen because I don't want to give them my money. And I'm very stubborn in that, and I realize that. But if I can watch it on HBO Max for free with my new iPhone that I bought, because they're giving away HBO Max subscriptions when you buy the iPhone 13 Pro Max. So if I can watch it on HBO Max for free, I think that's the way I'm going to watch it. Probably the only DC films that I'm going to see on the big screen and actually spend money on are going to be the DC League of Super Pets film. Because they don't have anything to do with how WB treated treated DC fans, and specifically DCEU fans, and the Flash movie that will have the appearance and debut of Supergirl in that universe. So I'll probably go see those two on the big screen, but I'm not going to go see and spend money on the Batman, just out of principle. Nothing, no offense to the director or the actors. They had done nothing to offend me, but I'm a little offended by the studio. So I am kind of trying my best not to spend money on those things anymore, not to support that. Which is interesting for me because I saw Man of Steel probably 10, 11 times in the theater. I saw Batman v Superman 15 times in the theater. I saw Wonder Woman, the first one, 6 times in the theater. I saw the original Suicide Squad movie 3 times in the theater. I spent some money on those films. I really did. And I bought a lot of merchandise. And so for me not to see one of these films at least one time on the big screen, I hope that it's not going to make a dent in any of their box office revenue, but I'm taking a personal stand. So I hope that's an answer to your question. I'm sure that is very long-winded and something you may not even needed to have known. You could have just been okay with a no to that question. So sorry for the long-winded answer. Okay. One more question from the chat, just real quick. Samwise says, are you caught up on Superman and Lois? That's a great question. No is the answer. I've got to catch up. I know there are some things that have been happening that I'm probably very interested in. So the answer is no to that question, but I'm still going to be watching it. So hopefully I will get caught up soon. Okay, so I see Donna backstage. Donna, if you're okay for me to bring you in, give me a thumbs up, and I'll bring you in. Just let me know if you're okay to go, or you can send me a private chat to say I'm ready to go. I never want to bring people on the live stream when it sort of catches them off guard, because I scare some people sometimes. But yeah, so we'll hang out. I don't know. For another 30 minutes or so and just kind of talk about maybe some Supergirl stuff, and then we'll wrap it up. I don't know. Maybe this will become a Supergirl radio episode now that I'm thinking about it. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. If this ends up being something fruitful, I don't think the audio listeners will get anything out of my unboxing because it's very visual. But maybe I'll drop it in. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, I'm gonna bring Donna in and see what Donna wants to talk about. Hey, Donna, are you there? Hey, Donna, can you hear me?
Hi, guys. Yeah, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, can hear you. So
I do apologize. This was last minute. I wasn't planning. I was being casual today.
No, you're fine. You're fine. All of this is last minute, so so that's understandable.
I just thought since you were talking about it, the gang might like to see it. This is the complete series.
Nice. Box. So I like that a lot better with the front.
That's the back.
Oh, this is so much better. I like that a lot.
Ironically, I pre-ordered them at the same time, and one was supposed to come out a week after the other. But ironically, I got one day and the other one the next.
So, nice.
Yeah, and I, to tell the truth, I haven't rewatched a lot, but I've been through all the deleted scenes and things. There are some new deleted scenes on the complete series that I don't remember seeing before, or it's just been so long that that I haven't seen them. Obviously, a lot of scenes, like with the season 6 DVD, 2 of the deleted scenes in particular, I think they should have included in the episodes. The end of Fear Not. There's the scene where Kara comes rushing onto the ship after being rescued from the Phantom Zone, and she hugs Alex. And then Supergirl looks up and she calls John over, and it's the 3 of them hugging. And Kara
nice.
says, "Let's go home." Much more emotional. I mean, even as emotional as that scene was that aired, this was even more impactful. And I think David's explanation for not using that one, because he directed that episode, was he felt like it was a sister's moment, but it was a good space family moment.
That's cool. Yeah, I think that would have been really nice. So
And like you, I totally agree about the Supergirl and Esme scene. They should have used that scene. I even think, had they used that scene, that might have taken a little bit of the sting of the sisters fighting out of it, because they referenced that. She Esme in the scene, I don't know how many of you have been able to see it yet, or what's out there. Esme feels guilty that she thinks they were fighting because of her.
Oh, I know.
And it's just a precious scene, and they should have included it.
Yeah, I think that would have been really nice, especially because it sort of sets up the ending for Kara. So I think that would have really helped cement that idea that that Kara was thinking about her secret identity and all those things.
I'm going to open this up. These
yeah.
These are the discs. My only complaint about these is the discs in this will not stay attached. There's so many of them.
Are they slipping out?
They slip out very easily.
Oh, that's
there's
annoying.
that color.
Okay, I see the blue and the red.
The blue and the red, and then the last season.
Okay, so so it's purple like the ones in the Blu-ray. Okay.
And actually, all of the design, you'll be disappointed, Rebecca, but all of the design on all of the discs are the S shield.
Oh yeah, I mean,
they kind of have different backgrounds, but it's basically the S shield with just either the solid red. The red looks like it's textured, like on her suit. And then the blue ones kind of have little scenes or something in the background.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, the DC fandom, the Farewell to Supergirl, there's a lot of extra content, a lot of more people. There's more Kyler talking about David directing and her directing, and Julie talks about a few things, and I think Staz and Melissa talk about singing Africa.
Oh, cool.
And Jeremy and they go into a little more detail with some things. So it's not a lot of extra content, but there is definitely more than what was at Fandom.
Okay, yeah, and they can kind of get away with that because they can put more on the disc than they probably didn't want to release a really long thing for Fandom. They probably had to shorten it up. So that makes sense that they would release a longer version on the discs. So that's good to know. All right, well, I'll have to check that out. I initially wasn't probably going to watch it because I've watched it already a couple of times. So that's good to know that it's a different version.
Yeah, it is. What I found odd about the season 6 DVD, there are no deleted scenes from the first 6 episodes.
Let's see. You are correct. The first deleted scenes come from Fear Not. So I guess they were just really happy about those first 6 episodes. No changes. All good to go.
Well, I think there are going to be some people that were disappointed that was thinking, because I think Ozzy or somebody said that they had filmed the scene where Alex tells Kelly.
Oh, yeah.
And they were looking for that scene to show up here. And unfortunately, it does not.
That's right. I remember them talking about that after that big kerfluffle when everybody was like, "What? What just happened?" I do remember that they did talk about that they did shoot something. So that is bizarre. Why would they include that? That was pretty early on? Was that episode 2?
That was the second episode. Yeah.
Yeah, A Few Good Women. Yeah, that was like really, really early on. So weird. Well, thanks for the reminder about that. I'd kind of forgotten that they they shot that.
I
That is
wouldn't have
really
mind
strange.
seeing if there had been any deleted scenes from the episode Kyler directed.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that it would have been really neat to see if they had more to do with the Midvale episodes. But I guess maybe sometime in the future, like a 10th anniversary episode, or like sometimes they come back out and want to make more money off things, so they re-release like a special 10, 20-year anniversary set. So maybe we'll get something later.
Yeah, I have some Supergirl radio friends that we Zoom chat together.
Cool.
And we joke that maybe we'll see it in the tell-all movie that'll come out.
There would be probably a lot to tell. I assume I would watch that tell-all movie for sure. I would be into that. Well, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and this could be something that I ask you and Nicole, who I've got waiting in the wings, but Tiana has a snap judgment. If you could have been part of the Supergirl team, would you want to be a writer or a director? So what would you say to that, Donna?
To me?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely the writer.
Okay.
No doubt, no question. As many times as I have rewritten the ending of some episodes that I've been disappointed with. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think I've said many times on Supergirl Radio, I am not a good writer. So I would definitely rather be a director, although I wouldn't know what to do with some of the special effects and things like that. But I think I would be more interested in, for sure, being a director. I think that would be a lot of fun. If I could have that training that all the actors go through when they become directors, if I could go through the training, maybe I could figure it out and get that. But yeah, I think I would do the directing. Well, Donna, is there anything else you want to chat about before I let you go?
I would reiterate, I would prefer the writing. I have directed like a play, and trust me, I'd rather write.
Yeah. Well, that is something that I think if we could tell other stories within the Supergirl universe, I think we would all be interested in trying to work some of that out. So maybe one day somebody will come to us and say, "Hey, would you like to write a Supergirl story?" And we'll be ready to go. But thank you, Donna, for just hopping on here kind of last minute and showing us what the complete series looks like. I'm gonna have to snag that because it does look pretty cool. So I'm gonna have to add that to my collection.
Yeah, thanks for letting me jump on.
All right, well, I'm gonna take Donna out, and I see Dr. Nicole in the wings. So, Nicole, if you are ready to go, maybe just send me a little private chat and let me know you're ready so that I can bring you on. It looks like your device is not connected, so if you if you want to hop on, let me know, and I'll bring you in. Let's see. Nicole says she's having trouble with the camera. Well, if your camera's not working, just go without the camera, and we can just chat on the audio if that's easier for you. We can do it that way if your camera's having trouble. I know I've had those issues before, so it was no big deal. But if you want to try just the audio and you can just turn your camera off, we can try that. So just let me know if that's something you want to do. It looks like maybe you've got your mic on, so I'm gonna try it. Let's see if we can get Nicole on, and we'll see what that's about. What's up, Nicole?
Hi. Yeah, sorry. I don't know why my camera's not working. Probably because my laptop is 100 years old and full of science.
That'll do it, I guess. Well, have you picked up the Blu-ray? I guess since that's the topic of conversation tonight, have you picked up one of these sets?
I didn't. Donna has been so nice as to share all of the inside information with me. I don't buy a lot of physical media, but I've been thinking about doing it more. So yeah, no, I'm glad. It's good to see reviews, and I think I did ask for the season 6 DVD from my mother for Christmas, but I did not get that. She got me a set of some Supergirl comics though, so
That
she
that still works.
yeah, no, it was a good thing. I tend to stream more media. I'm one of those people, but I think Supergirl is something worth investing in to be able to watch years later. And yeah, didn't we see the like Smallville 20 year DVD set that came out, or was it only 10 years? I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because I remember laughing about how many episodes, like 180 something episodes or something insane. Yeah, that's right. They did release I think it was like a 20-year like all Blu-ray set is what I think happened. It feels like so long ago since we talked about that. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. They did re-release one because they got to milk that Smallville uh love from people, even though they probably already had the entire series on a DVD. You got to get it on the Blu-ray now. So yeah, so maybe sometime down the road, WB will put out another version and try to make it a little different. And it looks like we lost Nicole, but what I was hoping was maybe even if we didn't get that scene between Alex and Kelly in the deleted scenes for A Few Good Women, maybe we'll get that on a 20th anniversary set to see what happens. Nicole, are you back?
Yeah, I don't know why my computer's being difficult. Probably because I'm not at the university and it's just my apartment, and the Wi-Fi is not as good here.
Well, that is okay. Well, we do have some snap judgments if you want to make some. And I should have really, while Donna was on, I forgot because I'm not structured here. This is real loosey goosey. I forget that like I have intros for these things. So let's just do a snap judgment intro, like make this real official. Yeah. In the game of snap judgments, each person is presented with 2 options, but must only choose one. First instincts are recommended and explanations are unnecessary. Okay, so I'm flying by the seat of my pants. No Google Doc this week. So I'm forgetting that I have fun intros. So we'll do maybe a couple snap judgments. If you have some in the chat, we'll do those as well. But Tiana, I asked this one of Donna, but we'll ask this of you, Dr. Nicole Green. If you could have been a part of the Supergirl team, would you want to be a writer or a director?
Ooh, I think I'm with Donna. I'd have to be a writer because I feel like I have no, like, I don't have that training of like, this is how you shoot something. I mean, like that's just a skill I feel like I don't have. But narratives is something we do quite a bit in science, constructing a narrative, thinking about, creating a logical path. We tend to follow rules that we set up. We don't just rewrite them in the middle of a season. And I would never do a time travel storyline because I hate them. So yeah, I think writer for sure. Although I think, seeing what a good director can do with a script is something that I appreciate. I just went and watched Worst Person in the World, which is like an Oscar contender. And just the way they shot some of those scenes, like it just added to the story so much, and it really changed, it gave this whole other perspective. So I can really appreciate, somebody that has that talent.
Well, thank you for the film recommendation. I have not seen that, so I will definitely have to check that out.
So good. It's in Norwegian, full disclosure.
Okay.
But so worth it. Please go watch. We have a great little nonprofit theater here in Iowa City, big film program at the university. So we get to see a lot of things that nobody really gets to see, necessarily if you're in a smaller town or not in a major metropolitan area.
That's cool. Well, if it's got subtitles, I can sit through it. That's fine.
Yeah.
I once watched, and I can't remember what the title of it was, but I watched a French film one day, and it was about this like fog that came up out of nowhere, and it was like killing people, and there was like this kid in a bubble, like a bubble boy type situation, and the parents had to like go up and rescue the kid and try to save the kid, and there's kind of a twist at the end, but it was actually pretty good. It was all in French, and I kind of knew a little bit of the French, but I would have been lost for sure without the subtitles. So I don't dismiss films just because they're not in English. I will watch a foreign film, if you will. with
Yeah.
subtitles because it's nice to see what everybody else is doing around the globe. So that's cool. It's a
Exactly.
good recommendation. All right, so we have another snap judgment. Let's see. Would you rather be the science director or a superhero show? No. Would you rather be the science director on a superhero show or a medical drama? What would you say to that, Nicole?
Do they have to listen to my recommendations?
Yes. If you are the science director, they have to do what you say.
I think it would maybe depend a little bit on the tone of the superhero show, because I definitely think a lot of the original comics, and I've had conversations with some of my science friends as we're sitting in our labs, like a lot of comics, just because of the time they were structured during, like whether it was coming off of like World War II or the Cold War, a lot of it was very like physics focused. They're talking about like nuclear radiation or time travel. Like those are really popular themes. I don't care about, like, that's not my area of science. I have zero expertise in that. So that if they were like, explain to me the atomic nature of the universe, I'd be like, bye. But if they were like, let's really get into like the biology, like some of like Sam's storyline I've been thinking about more in like season 3, that idea of like gene expression and switching off between her Kryptonian programming and like her human programming, like that kind of stuff I could get into. So if it was a superhero show where we really were digging into like the biology, I would say that. But if not, I think I would have to go with the medical drama, even though like I'm not a practicing clinician. So like it would be really hard for me to do like the diagnostics and sort of clinical practice. But if it was like getting into the disease pathology, I'd be like, yes, I'm into that. I watched like, I don't know how many seasons of Grey's Anatomy. It doesn't matter. There's too many, but like I got through a lot of it. And I was telling Quinn this on Twitter because she was talking about this. I was obsessed with Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, and ER as a child, like a very young child, like probably in a weird, inappropriate way, because I was like 6 and I was like watching these like gory surgeries on TV. But I have always appreciated a medical drama. So I'd probably lean towards that if it wasn't like a really unique biology superhero moment.
Interesting. I'm not the person to ask about being a science director, but if I maybe did have the smarts, I think I would want to be a science director on a superhero show, just because that would be fun for me. But I think you make a really good point about how a lot of superhero stories do sort of lean into the time travel aspect, especially like in the Silver Age. There's a lot of time travel with Superman and Supergirl, where they break the time barrier on a regular basis, like it's no big deal. So I think that's kind of an interesting thought about that. Nicole, what if you could explore something sciencey related to Supergirl? What would it be?
Oh man. I don't know that I want to explore this, but it is something that bothers me and I think about all the time, like at least once a week. Because there's a whole idea of, what's the origin of Kara's powers? Like this idea of being under a red sun or a yellow sun, what does that mean? And the whole like take the grass, and I'm just like, Kara is a giant plant. She's just like reverse photosynthesizing things. And I think I thought about that a lot. And so one day I got curious and I was like, what is like Reddit and the the online universe have to say about this? Like what's behind this? So I started looking up the photonucleic effect. Because I was like, okay, this is cool. And it really gets into like, we're all made up of cells, and like within your cell, this is a high school biology lesson, everybody. Within the cell, you have your nucleus, right? Which is like the brain of the cell. So the photonucleic effect is all about this idea of like how like forces and the wavelengths affect the nucleus and like the forces on the nucleus, which is really interesting to me because I study what happens in the nucleus now. I used to study muscle, but now like I study, what goes on in the inner workings of the cell. And I started reading about the photonucleic effect and I was like, this is trash. Like none of this makes sense. Like, I don't like it. I would have rather you framed Kara as a giant plant and like you have these special organelles that allow you to process light in a really interesting way and metabolize light just like a plant, but that's not the explanation I got. So hopefully we'll get a rewrite to update on the biology of that one day. But like that's what I would want to explore. I think more like how does she get, like where do those powers come from and what does that mean, and maybe give a like a little bit more satisfying example of that.
Interesting.
I don't like the one that exists currently.
Well, Nicole, that's it for Snap Judgments, but I do have some things that I want to talk to you about after we kind of wrap it up with a little video here. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to play this and we're going to come back. No judgments on your Snap Judgments. So, Dr. Nicole, would you be interested maybe sometime? Because there is a book, if I can share my screen. There is a book. Let's see. Is this going to show my location? Let's see. See if I can do this without showing my location. Let's see. We'll see if that does it.
Ooh.
Yes. Okay. So there is a book called The Science of Superman. And let's see if I can, no, we're going to pull that down. But there is a book called The Science of Superman. And I was looking at it for a long time to maybe dig into it for possible Supergirl radio content, even though it's about Superman. But it could be applied to Supergirl and all of Kryptonians, really, because we could translate that into Supergirl discussion. So I don't know if you'd ever be interested in maybe, because we could do more Supergirl radio book clubs.
Ooh, I like a book club.
Because Morgan and I were actually talking about that, I guess, yesterday in a message chat about Haven Secret. Neither of us have read it yet, so we need to read that for a book club. So we'll have to reach out to the Katie McGrath book club and read Haven Secret together. But maybe we could add The Science of Superman into the book club and see what your thoughts are on that. I think that would be a really cool way to explore Kryptonians and their superpowers. So I haven't read it yet. So would you be interested in maybe exploring that?
I would 100% be interested in it. I was like really thriving before the pandemic. I was in like a couple online book clubs and like some local book clubs, and then everything stopped because of things that happened. So I'm not in book clubs anymore, and I need to get back to reading. So yeah, keep me posted. Let me know. I'll put it on my schedule. I'll get out my Post-its and make an extensive Google Doc as well to have a good discussion.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll have to keep that in mind. I think we've got some things already we're juggling. We're juggling Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. We're also juggling the Supergirl Radio Rewind stuff for a while. But maybe on down the road, we'll do a couple of book clubs. I want to say there's also another kind of science related book about, it's like the Flash Facts. I think it was I think more geared towards children, but that might also have some sciencey related things in there as well. And that was something that I also wanted to check out. Hegel Blast in the chat says another DC medical-ish book suggestion is The Anatomy of a Metahuman. That's also another book that I've been looking at. So maybe we can add those to the book club list and kind of go through those, because I think those would be worthwhile to just add to our collective knowledge, I guess, here on Supergirl Radio about these various things. So we'll have to dig into that. And yeah, I think there also maybe is a DC League of Super Pets book coming out, maybe. So we might do that before the Super Pets movie comes out. So lots of books to get to. I'll be doing more reading than I ever have. Although I'm trying to be better about reading. We'll see if I actually finish the book I started last night instead of just starting it and then moving on to another book, because I tend to do that a lot.
So, I mean, I'm great at reading really quickly. If I've learned anything in graduate school, it is how to consume information quickly. So I'm down to read a couple books and bring some thoughts for sure.
All right. That sounds good. All right. Well, we'll let you know when we do that. There are a couple of questions from the chat that might be something you can speak to. Donna asks, do you think that superhero shows show more respect to women scientists than the medical shows?
I would say it probably just depends, honestly. I think something that's common no matter what field of science you're in, whether that's more on the clinical side or any field of science, like there's always issues that women in particular and anybody from an underrepresented group have to face, unfortunately. And I think we're trying to get better, but there's still a lot of room to go. I do think that in the last few years, I do appreciate that television has tried to be more representative. Like we talked about, I think briefly, it was nice to see on Supergirl when we had the episode this past season that we had a woman physicist, right? Which that, like physics is traditionally underrepresented in women. So I thought that was like a nice choice of them. She was a little off the rails, but like live your life. It's fine.
She made some choices. It was fine.
It's fine. You're allowed to make mistakes like men. And I think medical shows, we've had a lot of good medical shows with strong female leads, and whether that's, in a nursing capacity or doctor or a pharmacist, like we see women being, more and more represented, which is always good. And I think that, there are organizations that are really focused on representation in TV and what that means. I know I had a really good conversation with Donna and Leslie recently about some of these like strong female science characters that I wasn't as familiar with from, shows from the 90s and early 2000s that I kind of missed out on, that they were recommending me. I was like, yeah, I got to go back and like watch those, because I love to see that. And like the Scully effect is something that's been widely researched and shown how that impacts, women going into science now. So, I mean, I think it's one of those things, like it's not always perfect how women are portrayed in those shows, but like putting women at the forefront of shows in capacities as scientists and doctors and leaders is always important. So I love to see it.
Yeah, the doctor that I can think of on TV that I thought was always well representative was a Dr. Juliet Burke on one of my favorite TV shows, maybe my favorite TV show, Lost. So if you've never seen Lost, it's a great show and I highly recommend it. And Juliet Burke is one of the great all-time female characters on television. So she is a doctor on that show and has to overcome quite a bit medical wise. So that's a doctor that comes to my mind. So I was trying to think of other female scientists, but I was kind of drawing more of a blank on the science side. I think they're probably more represented I would guess, in the medical side.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I second your Lost recommendation. I recently went back and was watching some of the seasons, and it still holds up, still great. I know we're not supposed to talk about Marvel here, but like Gemma Simmons, who is a biochemist on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., is one of my favorites. I really enjoy her. Also, like Cassima Niehaus from Orphan Black is like a great. Her and Delphine on that show, both great female scientists. Yeah, we've had a lot of good examples in the last couple of years. If you start looking around, and yeah, I'm sure I hope we keep getting more features on sort of like comic superhero shows.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a ton of them that I've seen, but I'm like drawing a blank on on so many of them. But yeah, I think if we kind of went back through a bunch of shows, we'd probably see some. But I think there's there's more stories you could tell with those kinds of characters. So I think that's definitely something in the future if they wanted to do that. Also, let's just take a few other questions if you don't mind, Nicole. Let's see.
And I should say Alex Danvers is a great scientist, and I wish we got to see more of her doing science on the show. Like that's a regret of mine that we didn't see more of her and like Eliza in the lab, which I think is something season 1 did more than maybe some of the later seasons. So I'm excited to see that. I haven't watched season 1 as recently. So Alex being a scientist and being in the lab is an exciting thing to look forward to.
Yeah, if Morgan had been feeling better and we talked about the pilot, that would be probably something that would come out because Alex is in a lab coat in the pilot.
Yes.
So there are some things that happen with her in the lab doing sciencey things. So that was definitely something more season 1-ish. than probably the rest of the series. But yeah, Alex had quite the resume for it, but both I think science and possibly some medical stuff. I feel like she did some stuff where she would take care of Kara medically. So
Yeah,
that's
I assume she was one of those like really obnoxiously ambitious people that was in like an MD, PhD program, or a lot of schools call them, a lot of places call them MSTP programs, which is medical science training programs. So they do both medical school and get a PhD. So they have to go through the process of conducting original research and taking all the classes, and they do that in different ways. Sometimes they book in like your research training up front and then on the back end. But yeah, they all like are in school for a minimum of like 7 years, and then they go into like doing
Oh,
the
geez.
residencies, and they're highly specialized to be able to do research with human subjects and to work with people and collect samples and do that in an ethical way, but also think about the the research side of it and trying to advance clinical knowledge.
So it is possible.
It's definitely possible. I think that's what they were hinting that Alex did, although they didn't like really call her doctor, so it's a little hard to figure out her backstory. But she did it in like 2 years, so guys, it's fine.
She's
like,
really studious.
Yeah, she did it. It's fine. I'm not going to question that or feel imposter syndrome at all about her doing all that in 2 years.
That is so funny. Yeah, she accomplished quite a bit in a short amount of time. Let's see. Just a couple questions from the chat. Leslie asks, "Were you hoping the season 6 Blu-ray set would have had the alternate endings for Supergirl?" Oh, well, were there alternate? Oh, I guess maybe that's referring to the Canadian version. I'm guessing, because if there's some other alternative endings, I want to know about them. But that may be related to the Canadian version. Leslie, if you can kind of confirm or clarify that. But I would have assumed that they would have put the full extended version on the disc. I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know exactly what the version of the finale looks like. But I would be a little upset if they didn't put the extended version, because that should, you've got time on the Blu-ray, so might as well put it on there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think full aired version, the Canadian one, is the one we want to see. I think like if we're thinking about that off-screen version, that's the dream version that we all wanted to see that we'll never get to see because maybe it exists, maybe it doesn't. I mean, I know sometimes shows in the past have, like, I'm thinking How I Met Your Mother, right? They actually filmed a whole very different narrative storyline. I don't know if anybody watched that show, but the DVD, like, people were very unhappy with the original airing of the show. They released an alternate ending they had filmed that you can see on that final season DVD.
Oh, wow.
I have no idea if that's what they did on Supergirl.
Interesting.
If they did, I would want to know what it is. Like, I want to see them all. I'd be really curious.
Yeah, so there's some comments in the chat. Donna says there was a source who worked on the show that said there were other endings filmed. And then Leslie says there are rumors that the original ending of Supergirl was that she was going to the future to be in the Legion. Oh, God. That's interesting, because I always thought that maybe that would be Supergirl's ending, that she would go, because that happens to Supergirl a lot, that she goes and ends with the Legion. That happens on the Justice League Unlimited animated television show. It also, I think, is sort of hinted that that's what happens to Laura Vandervoort's Kara on Smallville. I think, if I remember correctly, she puts on the Legion ring and then kind of disappears. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know how you feel about that, Nicole. Like, I would have loved for her to be like a full-fledged Legionnaire in the future. Whether or not that means she gets together with Mon-El, that's irrelevant. Just to, know that she goes to the future and has this amazing career with the Legion would have been really cool for me to see. But I also thought that for the most part, I thought the ending of the show, the way they chose to end it with Kara, I thought made sense for the character as much as possible, even though it kind of came out of nowhere towards the end. I don't know. I'm a little conflicted on that, because I thought that they at least ended Kara in a way that sort of made sense. But I also, oh man, the Legion, though. That would have been really cool. I always thought it was a missed opportunity that they didn't go to the future for super, like, if we were talking earlier about if we could be a writer on the show. Like, if I was a writer on the show, I would say one season of the show would just be Supergirl going to the future. Like, that would be a whole season of the show. But they did not ask me for my pitches. So that is not what would happen. But that's what I always kind of hoped would have happened. They probably thought, oh, we don't have the budget for that. We can't show people what the future looks like in the 31st century. But I think that would have been really cool. Of course, that would probably have been tough on the Kara Alex front. Would Alex be going to the future? And she could, Supergirl could always come back to the past or to the present, however you want to look at that. But that's tough. What would you if you had to pick one, Dr. Nicole, which would you rather have seen, the version that we got, or Supergirl going off to the Legion?
I mean, that's tough. I think with the ending that we got, I think like a lot of people, I would have liked to see at least a little bit of what that meant for Kara. Like, she's just revealed herself to the world. We know from the 100th episode that there were potentially consequences that were predicted. Like, what does that look like now? And I think the implication was that Kara revealing herself would, in a very hopeful world, give her some freedom to be more fully herself. Like, that's what I think they were trying to tell us. So she could be both a journalist and a hero, and to explore all sides of that and try to make the biggest impact possible. But it was a bit of a cliffhanger. It's like, I would have liked to see at least a little bit of what that actualization of her reaching that point looked like. I also think it would be really cool, like you said, and I know that people on the show, you and Morgan, have talked about this idea, like the potential universe of Supergirl could be so big. There's all these other worlds that she could have gone to. There were characters on the show that we got that were from other worlds, and we never got to see her really go anywhere. So whether that would have been in the ending or throughout the show, seeing her temporarily go to another world or go to the future for a while could have been really cool. Just like seeing more of that. Yeah, I would have enjoyed that. Although, yeah, I have the same concern with you. I wouldn't want Kara to lose all of her relationships, or like, and not that I think she would necessarily by leaving, but I would have liked to see those maintained in some way, and just make sure that, like, we still got to see, like, the sister dynamic, which was so central and important. I mean, we saw what happened in the last season when we lost that. It really put a strain on the show. We missed out on all of that magic between the sisters. So, if they could maintain that while Kara went somewhere else, whether it's to a different time or to the future, different multiverse, whatever that looks like, that I think that would be my only hesitation, is just making sure that they did right by the sister dynamic and the relationships that she had on Earth 1, Earth Prime, whatever
I
we're
think
on.
it's Earth Prime, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it could have been cool. I think one thing for me personally is I don't really have, or at least before watching the show, I don't really have comic book knowledge or anything like that. So I really was watching the show and had no expectations, which is good and bad at the same time. Like, I don't have all of this extensive knowledge, and there's all these great Supergirl stories out there, so I didn't have that. But at the same time, everything is a surprise, and everything feels a lot more like, oh yeah, I'm going with it because I don't know anything different. There's like an ignorance is bliss moment with that.
In a lot of ways, I'm jealous of that.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm just like an empty vessel, just like, give me good Supergirl content. But I know a lot of people have talked about these like future like Legionnaire storylines and how great they are, and how a lot of people had that expectation. So, if that's the way the show would have gone, I would have been like, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think I have a solution to all of our issues with that. So Supergirl goes to the future with the Legion, but like everybody from the show goes with her. So like Alex, Kelly, Nia, Brainy, all of them, John, Lena, everybody goes to the future. So we don't have to worry about them being left behind. Everybody goes to the future. And then while Supergirl's in the future, she doesn't have to deal with her secret identity, because I think the main concept, and somebody can fact check me in the chat, but the concept of the Legion of Superheroes is that really they have like code names like Cosmic Boy or Lightning Glass, that kind of thing. But they're more able to be who they are in the future. So it's not necessarily that they have to have secret identities. So I think you could have maybe used that concept to say, oh, well, Supergirl can just, Kara can just be herself. She doesn't have to have secret identities a secret identity in the future. So I think maybe you could have I would have gone along with all of that if that's the way they did it. But oh man, that is juicy to leave to leave maybe something like that on the table. So I'd be curious if they actually shot something. I don't know how that would have gone. Let's see. There was also a question that Donna had with all the talk about writing on Supergirl. I think we could get Eric Crosco or someone who wrote for the show on. I assume, Donna, you're talking about having them on Supergirl Radio, which is interesting because I've actually tried to contact Eric Crosco. So constantly sending out emails to people and to publicists and people like that. So trying to be diligent and persistent on those kinds of things to see who else we could get on for Supergirl radio interviews. Because one of the things I would like to do post the show is be sort of a place where we can document the history of the show, and I'm trying to do it as quickly as possible so that people don't forget their time on the show, because that's my worry, is that we get these people, but it's like 5 years down the road and they've forgotten everything. Because I've seen that happen with actors. This past Dragon Con, I asked I got up in a room full of people. I got up in front of a room full of people and asked Tom Welling and Laura Vandervoort what it was like to be on the Phantom Zone set on Smallville, and they were both like, what? We went to the Phantom Zone? Like, they had completely forgotten about it. And I was like, really? The Phantom Zone was a big deal in that season. But they had forgotten because it just had been such a long time ago. So I don't want that to happen with the Supergirl cast members or the directors or the writers. So I'm hoping to try to see if we can get more people as quickly as possible. So don't worry. We're trying to see who we can line up if it's possible. So we've sent many emails and messages out to try to just, people are busy. People are doing other things. So we're definitely going to try to contact as many people as we can. And I guess, Nicole, before I let you go, because I see Claudia waiting there in the wings, and if anybody else wants to hop on, we'll probably go for maybe a tight 2. Tight 2 hours.
Yeah.
So if anybody doesn't want to hop on with me, we'll talk about whatever Supergirl related thing you want to talk about. I'm going to drop the link back in the chat. If anybody else wants to hop on, just come prepared with something Supergirl related to chat about. But Nicole, is there anything else you want to talk about related to Supergirl before I let you go?
Yeah, maybe I'll just say, and I'm trying to remember the name of the person who had wrote in, and this is on my never-ending to-do list of things, but I think about it a lot. Somebody had asked sort of about this tension between science and magic in the last season, and I've been thinking about that a lot because I think I'm pretty biased towards magic. I'm on team science, and just sort of like reconciling those things, I think, is a theme that we saw like Lena struggling with in the last season. We saw sort of this like technologically advanced Kryptonian, her weakness is magic. So just thinking about that, and I feel like I've watched several shows lately kind of exploring this idea of the intersections between science and magic, and trying to rethink what that means. And I think that's a common writing trope that people have used, like oh man, what was that show I just watched? Arcane. I don't know if anybody's watched that on Netflix. They have some really interesting ideas about like a scientist trying to manipulate magic and what that looks like. It doesn't go super well. It's just like, I think it's interesting, this idea of like unknown power and unknown energy in the universe, right? Versus like, science is trying to explain that and often harness that ability. So eventually I'll get my thoughts together about that and maybe either write in or, if you have some time, come on and talk about it. I'd be curious. I know Morgan's very team team magic. She likes a good witch
I think
moment.
she just likes Lena's mother's wig. I think that's really the only reason she leans towards that. I'm speaking for her, but I
That's
think it's the
fair.
Elizabeth
That's-
Walsh wig. Yeah.
It's fair. I mean, how you look when you do these disciplines seems
Yes.
important. You're putting off a vibe. I get it. But yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot, and The Nevers is another show I've been watching on HBO Max. Unsolicited ad for HBO Max. I know we love that on this show. And yeah, they have some interesting sort of like alien magic moments going on. They have a really great inventor. I think Donna mentioned that because she recommended it to me, and I started watching it. I was like, I love this so much. So yeah, I think that's an interesting theme that was explored in the last season, and other shows are doing it. And yeah, what does that look like? What does it mean? How can it be done well or not so well?
Okay, well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, if you get your thoughts together, if you want to, whip up a little PowerPoint, and we'll
I love
bring
a
you on.
PowerPoint.
Yeah,
I love a PowerPoint.
Yeah, who doesn't love a PowerPoint? So if you want to come on and just share some thoughts, we'll talk about it. That might actually be a good episode topic. Science and magic, and how do they go together or do they not? Do they always have to be separated, or is magic just science in the future? How do they intersect? So I think that would actually be a great thing to look at in terms of the science that displayed on the show, but then also compare it to the magical elements, because there are a few magical elements in Supergirl, aside from Witch Lena. There's the imps who can use magic with the snapping. So I think there's a lot to dig in there. So yeah, if you wanna whip something up, we'll get together later and maybe plan out an episode for that. So that would be I'm trying to think if that would that be a good Halloween episode, maybe?
Oh, I would love that. I know, like you were indicating, that there's a ton of backstory in the comics that we saw a little bit of the imps, but I think this idea of Kryptonians being vulnerable to magic, and then a lot of like trying to counter that with science and what that looks like, or harnessing magic, what that can look like. So yeah, I'll think more about it, and I'll get back to you. But yeah, I'd love to talk more about it.
Okay, yeah, and I'll dig back into some Supergirls. Maybe I'll bring some Supergirl stories where she maybe interacts with magic somehow, and try to see how Kryptonians encounter magic, and maybe we can work in the Nixley mentioned in the comics. I think she's in one Superman comic, so that might be a way we can bring that into this. So we'll try to cover a lot of ground, but maybe we'll plan something for maybe spooky season, and try to tie that into witches and spooky things related to Halloween. So we'll maybe tentatively put that on the calendar for sometime in October, and see if we can make that happen. So that's a really good suggestion, Nicole. So we'll have to see if we can put that on the books.
Oh yes, I see Donna mentioned the Witches of Jewar for sure.
Yes, that's definitely
all that good content from like season 3.
Yeah, so there's definitely some witchiness going on with those witches. Selena. Oh yeah, we could talk about Supergirl the movie again. Oh yeah, well, there's there's tons of things that we can talk about in terms of magic for sure. Good suggestions. All right, so that's something we'll definitely have to. So keep that in your mind groups, Dr. Nicole, and we'll workshop that episode out and see what we can go and explore with that concept. Well, I might have to kick you out because I see Claudia waiting in the wings. But it was a delight to speak with you again, and we'll have to have you back on. And thanks for joining me here on this impromptu live stream, where I'm just kind of asking people what they want to talk about. So it's kind of a call-in show, kind of just winging it, really, is what we're doing here. So we're gonna say goodbye to you, Dr. Nicole. Do you have any final thoughts before I kick you out?
Yeah, no, always a good time. Thanks for everybody that's on here, and yeah, looking forward to see what Claudia has to say.
All right. Well, we are going to kick Dr. Nicole out, but I'm also going to just play her little stinger, and then we'll wrap up Dr. Nicole here.
Science!
All right. So, Claudia, if you are ready, if you can get to the private chat and just say, I'm ready, because I don't see your picture. So I'm assuming you have your camera off, which is totally fine. but I want to make sure that I'm not freaking you out. So if you can find the private chat and just let me know when you're ready, and I will bring you on so I don't scare you, because sometimes I do that when I bring bring people in. So if you can just send me a private chat and we'll bring you on. Okay, so Claudia says she is ready. So I'm gonna bring Claudia on. Hey, Claudia, how you doing?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. So what is up, and what do you want to chat about?
I had no idea that you couldn't hear me. I mean, that you couldn't see me. I'm sorry.
Oh
So
yeah, no, it's fine if your camera's off. We can just chat with the audio. That's totally cool.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Hey, I really like that discussion you guys had about, the idea of sending, or if Kara went to the future. I thought that was
Yes.
like, that's actually not a bad idea, and possibly even sending, like you say, everybody that she knows with her. But then the one thought that popped in my head is you can't send Lena, only because I firmly believe that L Corp is going to be a big part of the technology that's going to be developed in the 31st century or wherever they're at. So you can't send her there, because then you'll be sending them back to the Stone Ages.
That's true. I think Lena is connected, if I remember correctly, connected to how Mon-El is saved from the Daxamite poisoning.
Correct.
So so L Corp is the brains behind saving. So there is a time quandary, the time paradox there. But I mean, we're living in a post-crisis, post-Amadeus world.
Well,
and
it's not just going to be her. It's going to be whatever descendants because they're going to be all brainy like she is as well. So and the next generation is probably going to be more intelligent than the next, and so on and so forth. So we need the Luthers to stay in the present.
That's true. I guess technically it was just I can't remember now if they said Lena specifically was the reason that the Daxamite poisoning was resolved, or if it was just Luther Corp.
It was specifically just L Corp, but
L Corp, yes.
But it was but in my mind, I'm thinking that's a family-run business in the future. That
sure,
it doesn't,
yeah.
And so whatever children she has or adopts or whatever, that they're going to continue the legacy and so on and so forth. That's the headcanon that I have. So she has to stay there. I'm sorry, Lena, but you need to stay there.
Yeah, Hagelblast in the chat says they said L Corp develops the cure 200 years from now. So you could get around that if Lena goes to the future. You could just say that, well, I don't know, but if Lena goes to the future, how does she have children in the past?
Right, exactly. If she has children, she's going to have children in the future. So I don't think it'll be L Corp. That's my opinion. But,
I wasn't prepared to talk about time paradoxes and break my brain tonight. But I think you're right. I think Lena probably would have to stay in the future in some capacity. I mean, in the past or the present.
Yeah, our present, their past.
Yes. So that's a good point.
So there were just two things that I just wanted to kind of throw out there. It's this thought that I've always had about this show, but also other shows, and you can apply it to any show that you watch. But the thing that pops up to me is their music choice. Like I listen to music all day, every day. That is my thing. Not that big of a reader per se, but I just listen to music all day. And one of the things I really enjoy about the series, especially when I'm rewatching the series, I really listen to the song choices that they make just throughout the whole episodes. And some of the songs, I think to myself, that song that was selected for that scene fits so well. It really set a tone, a mood. It was associated with the storyline, whatever the case may be. And then also, sometimes it captures the tone of even the whole season. So that's what I think to myself. Like, it's kind of like a chicken and the egg. Like, did somebody say, I want that song in this show, in this episode, so we have to write an episode that fits that? It's just, it amazes me, the song choices that they pick. I think some of them are just so fitting. And I really like to pick somebody's brain. Like, how do you guys do that?
Yeah, one of the goals that I personally have for Supergirl Radio is to try to get Blake Neely or any of the music staff, because I think there are some people that worked with Blake to pick song choices and also possibly write and compose music as well. So that's one of my goals, is to have those more behind the scenes people, because we really liked talking to Matthew Wilson, the property master, on the show, and so it'd be really fun to talk more to those people who actually did more to really create the show and the way it looked and the way it sounded, as you brought up. It would be really fun to speak with more of the production side of things to get their take on the show and the universe of the show, because they're essentially creating it, and specifically in this situation through the music and the tone and the vibe that they're putting out. So that's definitely something on our radar. But it might also be worth doing a Supergirl radio episode on the music, and just, not even necessarily with Blake Neely, but maybe we could pick a few songs from a couple of the seasons, or maybe we could break it down just like season by season and talk about the musical choices. So if you would want to be a part of that and sort of develop that episode, since you've already been kind of thinking about it, just let us know. I'll leave it to you to maybe work up a pitch for that, and we can maybe talk about that, because I think that would be something that would be worth exploring. We do have a Supergirl Radio playlist on Spotify, so if you're interested in that, you can go to supergirlradio.com, and on the right side of the page we have a link to that if you want to add that to your library. But in that Spotify playlist are the tracks from the show. I always tried to make sure after every episode aired to add the tracks to that playlist. So it's really interesting to actually listen to them without the scene, just to listen to the song. So I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, and like I say, since I'm always watching an episode of Supergirl just about every day, sometimes two, so I'm redoing the seasons all the time. So I look at different things every time I rewatch. I started just one rewatch. I just really started paying attention to the music, and that's what kind of jumped out at me on that one. And go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and Leslie also says, I'd love to do a show on the music on Supergirl. So maybe Claudia and Leslie, maybe you all can come on and be guests on that episode if you are up for it.
Yeah,
and we can have you as guest musical expert consultants. We'll come up with better titles for
cool.
you all for that. But yeah, Leslie says I'd love to collaborate with someone regarding the music on Supergirl. So we'll definitely try to do that at some point. I'm trying to think of.
I would love that.
Yeah, we'll have to try to plan it. Well, I'll include. This is good brainstorming for the podcast. So we'll have to do a spooky season magic versus science episode, and then somewhere down the line we'll have to find a good time to maybe we'll try to tie it to maybe like Grammy season or something like that, and find a way to tie it into musical aspects and see what we can do there. But I think that would be a great episode. So we'll have to work with you all on that and see what you would specifically how you want to address it.
Yeah, and like I say, that would be really cool. And I think the second idea the thought that popped into my head had to do with the clothing. I know that you have the boardroom ballroom segment, but even if you extend that out to like the entire cast, the thing that jumps out at me is, who determines what somebody wears? And I know this is a silly question, but to me, that really does set the tone. And you can see, for example, Kara's evolution, because I actually watched the pilot in preparation for today, just to kind of refresh my certain details and what have you. And I could really see how she dressed in season 1. And I'm looking at, let's say, I'm in the middle of my rewatch. I'm in season 5 right now, and that is night and day.
Yeah,
like stunningly so. And you could just see how physically Kara looks, how the maturity, her growth, just with her clothing, and you can see the subtle differences even with Alex. Going into season 1 and how she changes, how her uniform changes, and just all these different things. So that's what I think about when I'm watching, is the visuals on that one. So I'm listening the music for the audio, but then the visuals is who is dressing these people, and who makes the decision is it just because it looks nice? Because I think it is a reflection of what's going on sometimes emotionally. If something's about to go down, you could tell, like, ooh, she's dressed to fight. There's going to be a fight today, kind of like that. So that's another thing that the visual cues you get just from what they wear. I feel strange calling clothing costumes, but that's their costume.
Yeah, or wardrobe if you wanted to do it that way. And that's also something on our bucket list, is to try to talk to the people in the wardrobe department on Supergirl, because we we have a lot of questions for sure. So that would be someone that I can't remember if I sent an email to one of those people or not. I've sent so many emails for interviews.
I really hope somebody responds back.
So it sometimes it's just really tough because people just have so many things going on. But that would definitely be something that we would want to talk about. And I think that's a worthwhile discussion. And perhaps we could, break it down, if we just wanted to talk about Kara's wardrobe, or because I know we sort of did that with Lena one time, where we kind of looked very expansively. I think maybe just like a full season 5. I think we've done season 5 and season 6 of Boardroom or Ballroom, but we can maybe revisit season 2, season 3, and season 4. But that's definitely something that I would want to ask about as well, because we know, because of Katie McGrath, that the actors do sometimes have quite a bit of leeway and pull about what the actor is going to wear, how the character will dress, because we know that things shifted for Lena, I guess maybe more so in season 4, when she started wearing those really great suits. So I think she had a lot of input on that, because she referenced what is her face?
Kate Blanchett, I think.
Kate Blanchett, yes. I feel ashamed that I called her Kate what's her face, but I feel great shame in that. She's one of the great all-time actresses, and I just could not remember her name at the time.
Yeah.
But she, Katie sort of looked to her for inspiration. So I think they do have some input into those things, but it would be interesting to see or to hear from the wardrobe department to hear how they begin that conversation, because they have to go through a lot of fittings for that. And one thing that I remember, this is kind of disconnected from Supergirl, but one of my favorite things that I've heard about TV production was in the case of The Closer on TNT, and I know I've referenced The Closer many times because it's one of my favorite shows, but they had an approach, and I'm sure all different TV shows have different approaches. But on that show, one of the things that they did was that they had the main character, Brenda Lee Johnson, played by Kira Sedgwick. She would her character would set the tone. So it was basically a cop show. She was the main lead, and then like her team was kind of her ensemble. So she set the tone in terms of the wardrobe design. So if Brenda Lee Johnson was wearing pink that day, her team would have elements of pink in their ties.
I never noticed that. I used to watch that show, and I never noticed that.
Yeah, so that's how they approached it, is that they tied her team, her people who were, assisting her in terms of how Brenda Lee Johnson was feeling in that particular episode. And so I always thought that was a really cool approach, but it wouldn't work for every TV show. Was be specific to that one. But I would be curious to know if the wardrobe department did have some kind of, not necessarily like that with The Closer, but if they had some sort of standard that they would set for themselves for each episode, like what were they trying to achieve? Were they trying to reflect Kara's journey, or were they just really catering it individually to each character? I have a lot of questions about that. Yeah.
And even like on Twitter, you always see comments about, especially the last couple of seasons, how they try to put certain characters in complementary colors, like a yin and yang kind of thing. And I thought that was I tended to believe that as well, because I was like, that's not coincidence, but I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, for sure, especially like on a show about Supergirl, which is very much like Superman. Like, you would probably play a lot with the primary colors, with the reds and the blues and the yellows. And of course there's color theory, which I need to do more personal research on, but there are certain colors that go better with other colors. So there's probably some of that. Like, I'd be curious if wardrobe people utilize color theory just as much as like an artist would or a
Right.
graphic designer would. I'd be interested in that. So I
But
think
the
that
thing
would be a
is,
cool thing to explore.
I think it's for me an offshoot of the wardrobe is also the hair because whether somebody puts something up or down, I know that you guys would joke about how if it was in a science bun or if it was in which Lena hair or but that's another to me that's the choice of hairstyle I think is also an extension of wardrobe. So that my question kind of feeds into that one as well, or my
For sure.
interest.
Yeah, for sure. I think even with I think that happens a lot with Lena in particular when she's kind of, down to earth game night Lena, she wears her hair down and wears blue jeans. And when she's, sciencey or evil, she'll, wear her hair pulled back in a ponytail, or it'll be like real straight and stern looking. So I think there's definitely a lot of that with Lena. I'm trying to think if there would be other characters that might apply to. Maybe some with Kara. I mean, there's the
I think with
bangs,
Nia.
obviously, but
I think with
okay.
Nia, because I loved Nia's wardrobe. I mean, she's one of my favorite characters as well. Nia, I love her. And I watch what she wears. It's so creative and it's so fun, but also her hair changes up as well.
Okay, I'll have to go back and look at that as well, because that I think some of that can give you it. It could be of two minds. It could be just like that's what the actor was feeling that day. Like it could just be simple as like, oh, well, I want Nia's hair to look like this today, or or I'm feeling more like this. I feel like I want to wear this, But I think it could also just be they're literally looking at it from a character journey and a character arc. So that would be definitely something about something that we want to ask if we talk to hair and makeup or wardrobe people. Definitely on my list for sure.
Yeah.
I know that's on Morgan's list too. So we are of two minds about that. So
that's great.
Hopefully one of these days we'll be able to grab some of those folks.
I will definitely have my fingers crossed about that.
Yeah.
And like I say, and probably the one last thing I just want to just mention is like my background, unlike Miss Dr. Green, I know she's more science. I'm definitely a lot more, I'm science, but I'm more technical. I have more of an engineering background. So one of of course, my favorite character will always be Lena Luthor because of the designs and the concepts that she comes up with. Because I watch the show and I think to myself, ooh, that would revolutionize the world if that actually happened. Because I know it's not real, but what if? And so some of the concepts she came out with, I was like, that is impressive. And I just started thinking to myself, the one where she did the Ghostbuster backpack.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, does she have a lathe or something? Because that thing is like, I think it's metal. I don't even think it's like molded plastic or anything. So I'm like, does she have a sheet metal machine in her garage? And she's just actually fabricating these metal items. It just blows my mind. It really does.
Yeah, it's funny with fictional science because sometimes it actually inspires scientists to explore some of those ideas. I know
Star Trek.
Star Trek is definitely one of those storytelling avenues with television and film that have inspired a lot of scientists. Dick Tracy back in the day in the comics, I mean, I have a Fitbit, so it's not exactly an Apple Watch, but Apple Watches are basically Dick Tracy watches. So those things do come to fruition. Famously, Christopher Nolan's Interstellar had so much space science going on. I think NASA like borrowed stuff that Christopher Nolan had created, and so they developed some scientific research based around Interstellar. So I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that if Lena Luthor created something on the show, that maybe some scientist in the future is going to be like, all right, let me check that out. Hopefully they don't try to go the VR path, because that's bad science that we don't want to touch, but it's possible.
Unfortunately, I could see that happening. I just hope it's not in my lifetime. But the one item that she ever created that I think about it, and I feel silly saying this, I think about it almost daily, is in season 2, I think it's like episode 3 or 4 or whatever, when Lena busts out that prototype of that alien detection scanner.
Oh, yeah.
It basically looks like a mouse, right? It's the size of a mouse. And I think about daily, like, how does that thing work? Because like what would it be? Because it can't, because people have to touch it, it can't have a little needle in there and collect a blood sample because that would be very unhygienic. So I'm just thinking to myself, what could that possibly be? I have come to the conclusion that I think it is light technology, that it, like, there's a certain spectrum of human skin thickness. So you have to account for different skin tones and what have you. And aliens either have rougher, like thicker skin or thinner skin. And if you're in this spectrum, then you're human. If you're outside of that, you're not. That's what I firmly believe is light technology.
Interesting. I would go with that thesis, that hypothesis. I'm firmly on that camp. I'll be on your side.
There you go.
Because I'm not smart enough to know whether that's right or wrong. So I'm just gonna encourage you to keep exploring that. So that's a cool thought, because that was a really interesting device that they introduced in terms of Lena trying to possibly figure out, it sort of teased that idea that, oh no, Lena's going to know Kara's secret, that she's Supergirl. Of course, that went on for many seasons after that, but it was a kind of a neat tease with that device. So
Right.
I think that's something that could be analyzed a little more.
Yeah. But I think about that little mouse looking thing daily because of my mouse that I use every day. I'm like, I wonder how that would work.
Yeah, Dr. Nicole in the chat says, I feel comforted to hear that other people fixate on Supergirl science way too often.
You're not the only one.
You are not alone, Nicole. There are things that I'm sure a lot of us sort of fixate on about the show. So that you're not alone in that. We all have our things that we're interested in on the show.
Very cool.
Well, Claudia, before I let you go,
Sure.
Do you have any final thoughts? Anything you want to leave the viewers or the listeners with?
No, the only thoughts I have would probably cause a fight, so it's best if I not express them.
Okay, well, okay. I was going to push you to talk about it, but if you don't want to, you don't have to.
No. It's just you know what? It's a show that I love, and it wasn't perfect, but I watch it all the time. I get a lot of joy out of it, and I know a lot of people, especially season 6. A lot of people didn't like season 6, and I get that. But you know what? Just leave everything at the door. Just watch it for what it is, and I promise you'll enjoy it. Because if you just go with the flow, you'll just enjoy it like I did. It's fantastic.
That is a good way to approach it, and I think, even if I was disappointed with a lot of stuff in the sort of the back half of the series,
Yeah.
I love that other fans like you just really love it for what it is. Like I think that's awesome. So I encourage you to keep enjoying it. Don't let anyone else say that you can't enjoy it for what it is, and keep watching it and having a good time with it. I think that's great. I try to remember that about pretty much anything I watch or listen to or read, if I actually do get to read.
Yeah.
I just try to remember, like, if this brings you joy, watch it. That's why I keep watching Lost episodes. That's why I keep watching 30 Rock episodes. That's why I love The Closer, and I keep mentioning it on as many Supergirl Radio episodes as I can, because if it brings you joy, lean into that. So I think that's great that you can still get some enjoyment out of the show.
I appreciate that. And I just want to tell everybody, anybody who's still on, you guys have a great evening. Be safe out there. And, winter's almost done. Spring is coming. Everybody have a good time.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing to leave everybody on. And thank you for joining me in this impromptu call-in show that I just kind of decided that we would do tonight, since unfortunately Morgan couldn't be with us, because it's no fun really just to listen to me. So it's a lot more fun to hear what y'all think. So
don't sell yourself short. Don't sell yourself short.
So thanks for joining me on the live stream. I'm going to kick you out, and we're going to wrap this live stream up. Okay, let me get to a few last things that I saw here in the chat. Tiana has some really good questions for this live stream, asking what karaoke would you want Kara to sing? That's a good question. If anybody has a thought in the chat, let us know what your thought is. I'd be curious as to what the viewers and the listeners think, because I think Cara, maybe more so Melissa, would be into show tunes. So I would probably try to get her to sing some sort of show tune number. Trying to think of what a good like Broadway musical number would be. I know the show references. Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on so many things tonight? It's the show about the Wizard of Oz and the big hit Defying Gravity. What is that show? What is that show? Somebody tell me what that is in the chat, because I'm blanking on what that Broadway show is. Wicked. Yes, Wicked. Okay. I cannot remember anything on this live stream, but probably something from a Broadway show, maybe something from Hello Dolly. I really love Hello Dolly, so probably what is that song called? Sunday something, put on your Sunday shoes, maybe. Hang on, I'm gonna look that song up. Put on your Sunday clothes. That's probably, I'm just gonna be random. I would want Cara Danvers to sing Put on Your Sunday Clothes from Hello Dolly. She would knock that out of the park. I would be into that. So that's what I would pick. A lot of people in the chat referencing Wicked. New Rachel says Cara and Lena doing for good from Wicked. Nicole says Wicked. Leslie says Wicked. Donna says Wicked. Tiana says it's the end of the world. Okay, is that the REM song? Is there a different version of that you would rather have sung? Let's see. Donna says Sisters from A White Christmas. So yeah, I think a show tune would be a good one for Cara to sing, but maybe also something. Cara was also a big fan of classic film, so I would probably also do. Of course, you probably can't sing these on karaoke because it's usually like big hits from like the 1950s on. So I doubt they have any songs from like the 30s and 40s. I remember what that Gershwin song is that Fred Astaire would sing. You can't take that away from me. Oh yeah, that's a good one. So if I was leaning into Cara's love of classic film, that's probably not going to be on a karaoke list, but I would probably want her to sing Gershwin's "You Can't Take That Away From Me," because that would be leaning into because Frank Sinatra. Fred Astaire, Frank Sinatra. That's a totally different classic film avenue. You could have Cara sing Frank Sinatra if you wanted to, but I would probably want her to sing Fred Astaire, maybe not impression, but Fred Astaire sing "You Can't Take That Away From Me" twice in a movie with with Ginger Rogers, I believe in "Shall We Dance" and the Barclays of Broadway. So I'm a big Fred and Ginger fan, so I would probably have her do something like that as well if that was available on the list. Claudia says I would love to hear Cara Danvers sing "All by Myself," maybe the Celine Dion version. She'd crush it, I think. I mean, Tiana does confirm that REM. I think that would be. I'd be impressed if Cara could do that. "It's the End of the World as We Know It" is a very fast song with a lot of lyrics. And then Donna reminds us all she did a good job with Moon River. So also a classic film song from, oh my gosh, Breakfast at Tiffany's. Blanking on that too. Oh my gosh, and it's one of my favorite films. So yeah. This must be a good sign that I need to wrap up the live stream because I am forgetting everything. But I guess if we're going to maybe turn this into an actual episode of Supergirl Radio that people can listen to on the podcast audio feed, I guess maybe if I can find the plugs, I guess I was gonna go ahead and say something to the effect, and because I don't have my Google Docs in front of me, so I'm just kind of trying to wing it. But I guess if we're going to treat this like a regular episode of Supergirl Radio, here are some ways to keep up with Supergirl Radio and the DCTV Podcast Network. If you would like to contact Supergirl Radio, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you can call us at 678-718-7252. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Podchaser, and Spotify, where we also have a Spotify playlist that includes music featured on and inspired by the CW's Supergirl TV series. We are listed on DC's fan page, which you can find at dccomics.com/DC-fans. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy our Supergirl Radio live streams, make sure to subscribe to the DCTV Podcast YouTube channel and hit that notification bell to get notified when we go live and wired. DCTV Podcast also has a TeePublic store, so if you're in need of new DCTV related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, onesies, mugs, notebooks, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
Supergirl Radio, Superman and Lois Radio, The Flash Podcast, and Legends of Tomorrow Podcast, Black Lightning Podcast, Batwoman Podcast 2, and Titans and Doom Patrol Podcast just for you. Justice League Dark Podcast, Green Lantern Podcast, Stargirl Podcast, Strange Adventures Podcast, and finally my favorite of the bunch, DCTV After Dark, where you're allowed to say fuck.
Apparently, there is a new episode of DCTV After Dark, so make sure that you're checking that out, even though you don't get Morgan Glennon on this episode of Supergirl Radio, because unfortunately she is not feeling well, and we all hope she gets better. But if you need some Morgan Glennon in your life, check her out on the Legends of Tomorrow podcast and DCTV After Dark, which supposedly has a new episode. I haven't seen it yet. So I won't believe it until it's in my earbuds. So hopefully we'll see that in our podcast feed. So check that out if you would like to. If you want to keep up with me, you can check me out on Vero at Derby Kid, and I'm on Instagram at the Derby Kid. I also have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/duckmilkprod. I have been very bad about consistency as of late, trying to get my Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice critical reception analyses done here lately, just because I've been out of town and things have been coming up. So I'm hoping to get back on a more consistent schedule for those, which are on Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/duckmilkprod. So cross your fingers. I'll get that on this upcoming Sunday. So if you would like to join me over there and just talk about art criticism and how we view cinema, that's kind of the approach there. So even if you didn't like Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, and I know I'm kind of an odd duck in that for having loved it, but even if you don't like BVS, I think it's worth just talking about how we critique art and what's the approach and how you do that. How do you talk about not only cinema, but art in general? How do you approach a story and how do you critique it and review it? That's kind of what I talk about on those live streams. So you can check me out there. Also, I just want to give a shout out to our Supergirl Radio patrons, our Legion of Super sponsors. These people are Michael, Sam, Anne Marie, Yvonne, Quinn, Nicola, Leslie, Abby, Ermgard, Miriam, Nicole, Lizette, Faith, Brian, and Ethan. So if you would like to contribute to that as well, you can go to patreon.com/Supergirl Radio. We have 4 monthly levels, which you can sign up for, and those have different rewards for them. We'll be doing a DC film or TV review for this month. We owe the $5 Ace Reporters a quarterly film review. So we'll probably be doing that here in the next couple of weeks. I think we have one picked out, but we're still kind of determining what that's gonna be formally. And it's usually something that we find on HBO Max, because that way everybody can watch along with us. Like you could watch it and then check out our review of that afterwards. So that's kind of the approach there. So definitely check us out at patreon.com/Supergirl Radio. All of your support helps out the podcast and gives us opportunity to do not only things to help pay for our fees, but also do cool and fun things for our community. So thank you to all of our super sponsors. All right. Well, I think that kind of covers it for me. Like I mentioned before in previous episodes, I'm still doing some plugs for my friend Mike, who's doing a fundraiser for Make-A-Wish. If you would like to support him, he's a big DC fan who actually got me into reading Teen Titans and passed along a lot of his old comics to me, which I dug into furiously. Furiously? I don't know if that's a great way to describe that, but I was really intense about it when he let me borrow some of his old comics back in the day. So he's a big DC fan and is doing a good deed and raising money for Make-A-Wish. Make-A-Wish. So if you would like to help him out, there should be a donation link in the video description of this live stream, and I'm also going to put it in the show notes of the audio podcast, because I guess I'm going to turn this into a podcast episode. I was not going to do that initially. I was just going to go on here and do a live unboxing of the Supergirl Season 6 Blu-ray. But while I was here, I thought, well, everybody came to hang out, so let's hang out. So even though, unfortunately, we couldn't have Morgan joining us tonight, I guess we'll turn this into a kind of loosey-goosey episode of Supergirl Radio, and maybe this will be beneficial to others who just listen in the audio format. So I guess that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I guess I'll leave you with the encouragement to go out and purchase the Supergirl Season 6 Blu-ray or DVD or the complete series, and have fun rewatching and digging back into the show.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy. Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that. So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor Boardroom or Ballroom, because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yeah!